Hi, I'm Peter Chiang, Visual Effects Supervisor on Pacific Rim Uprising.
Amazing. So how did you get involved in visual effects?
Wow, I went to art college and really from that did a degree in graphic illustration. Started sketching around and doing designs and drawing and stuff. And really I met a guy called Tony Barwick who was a screenwriter for Jerry Anderson. Wrote a lot of his Supermarination series. And then he introduced me to a chap called Derek Meddings. And it was Derek who gave me my first job on a film called Krull in 1982 as a graphic artist. So it was a great project, Peter Yates' film.
So 1982 to 2018, obviously visual effects is probably the area that has evolved the most in that time. What have been some of the most interesting changes that have been cool to navigate through as an industry?
Oh, wow. I mean, I can remember just doing stuff analog, and the advent of digital is just been breathtaking. And every year it gets better and better. So I think it's, visual effects, like you say, has been on a steep climb throughout all those years. And things that couldn't be possible, there's so many things like lighting and rendering, how to reproduce light as it bounces off surfaces. That's amazing. Really, subsurface scattering, creatures. There's so many individual areas that have all gone into making science more and more sophisticated. So the directors nowadays, can dream, and we can kind of make a reality for them in films.
So you have performed lots of different roles in the effects sort of genre, but now you're a visual effects supervisor. Can you tell us exactly what it is you do sort of day to day on a film?
Yeah, so what I do is I sit with the director, and in this case, sitting with lovely Stephen Denite, who was absolutely fantastic to work with, and I'm really the conduit in which all of his visual effects, queries goes through. So my job is to come up with, designs, work out how we're going to shoot them, collaborate with all the other HODs on the show, like Dan Mindell, the DP, brilliant man, Stefan DeCant, who's just amazing, and I kind of coordinate the visual effects aspect of it, which is basically anything that they can't do physically, like the Jaegers and the Kaiju. So I handle all of that and literally see it through from the beginning of the film all the way to delivering the finished digital neg.
So as you mentioned, we are here on a panel to talk specifically about Pacific Rim Uprising. What were some of the interesting challenges of that film specifically?
Well, I think as with giant monsters and giant robots, scale is the huge problem within these feature films. And somebody asked a really good question, which was just how do we approach that scale aspect of it? And really, if you put the real physics onto an object that big, it would move very, very slowly through frame. And so therefore there's a tug of war between keeping the sequences exciting, but at the same time trying to portray the real physics. And constantly we're battling each other in order to get, the sequence evolved into a good state.
And you're one of the founders of DNEG, one of the sort of leading visual effects companies in the world. Tell us a little bit about founding the company and sort of its principles, its guiding principles.
Yeah, so I set the company up with Alex Hope and Matthew Holborn, and so the three of us were really, and it was the idea from Michael Kuhn and Tim Bevan and Eric Fellner of Working Title. And those three people really had the foresight in that, they were making a lot of, great films. And what a great way to service those films is to create a visual effects industry, way back in 1998. So they had that foresight then that the digital technology explosion would really aid their productions. So we were 35 people in 98, and we've now grown to be, 5,000 people around the world. So it's an achievement by all the artists and the creativity of the company to just really service great directors and realize their dreams.
Can you tell us a little bit about working with those directors and some of the differences between some of them?
Yeah, my first job is to really get inside the director's head, and that's a part that I really enjoy because you work out where you can help him. You're really trying to service him and make sure, bring his vision to the film, and you have to carefully work through what inspires him and what he likes, and everybody's different, and so every project that I take on, there's always idiosyncrasies of that director that you need to adapt your working methods to in order to accommodate, the working relationship. But that's part of the fun of, meeting so many exciting people and working, seeing them realize their vision. It's a great privilege.
DNEG has won 4 of the 5 last visual effects Oscars. Can you tell us a little bit what you think it is about the company's approach that sets it apart?
Yeah, DNEG really has grown from strength to strength. We have an incredible talent pool of artists, and I think that the whole fundamental idea of talking to directors and really getting them what they want, because every person is individual, and if you can get inside their head and really work out what they want, and deliver it to a high standard, I think that's led to the work shining out. And it's credit to the team, the producers, and all the hard-working people that are the unsung heroes in the company that have contributed to those Oscars. So, we thank the Academy for recognizing that, and hopefully we can go from strength to strength.
Well, speaking of unsung heroes, visual effects are sometimes something that the average filmgoer doesn't quite understand. What is something about your industry that you would like for people to know that they maybe don't?
Oh, I kind of shy away from all that, and I like it that we're back room and that we're hidden, and it's, I don't know, I think if we continue to just service the industry the way that we're doing, I think we're doing okay. I'm not into the limelight that much. I like to be back row and just do the work and then show the work and, surprise people.
Right. Well, your resume has some of the biggest movies in history on it. What have been some of your favorites to work on?
Oh, God, there's been so many. I think that, that every film has its uniqueness about it. It's always subject matter and, 1 minute you're working on a period drama, another minute you're working on an action film, another minute you're working on a sci-fi film, another minute it's a fantasy film, another minute it's a war film. So, every film's great, so it's hard to pick one because there's so many good experiences in all of them. And I love working with, so many different directors, so it's a privileged job.
Is there a type of film or a specific person that you would love to work with or on that you haven't yet?
There's so many filmmakers out there that are brilliant. Every time I go to the cinema and I see a film, you kind of want to work with those people. There's too many, and I think but that's good because it keeps you fresh. You kind of look at their films and you admire them, and you look at your peers, the supervisors that are working on them. One standout film for me is Apes, the last war film. Fantastic work. I mean, I absolutely, the work that Weta did just blew me away, and I love the imagery, and it's something that keeps you wanting to emulate that, and so it's a healthy way to work.
Brad Alexander, Previs Supervisor, partner at Heelan Entertainment.
And I'm Ryan McCoy. I'm also a Previs Supervisor and Post-Viz Supervisor, and the other Vizes, it's constantly changing, and that's part of the fun. But yeah, we just help directors and visual effects supervisors and production designers and directors of photography and everyone help visualize what the movie's going to be before they go and shoot it. And so we prototype that very quickly with 3D animation, and based on whatever input we have, the boards, a script, sometimes neither, sometimes both, sometimes
we just pull ideas out of the sky,
whatever it ends up being, and we just try to come up with something that's really cool, that tells a story that's hopefully in the style of the director or what they want, and that serves the purpose of practical needs of production.
So what are your backgrounds? How did you get into Previs?
I was in the military. I was actually in the Air Force, and I've been drawing since I was 5, and I got fascinated with computers growing up, and when I was in the Air Force I figured out kind of how to put 2 and 2 together with animation software, and then I started to learn that, and And I went to film school, but I didn't graduate because luckily, in a weird way, I landed a job with George Lucas working on the Star Wars prequels.
All right.
And then that's where I met my business partner, Dan Gregoire, and then that's where we started Halon.
Yeah, so I mean, I knew in middle school, I started doing that, and by the time I was in junior high, I was doing animations and entering in festivals and stuff, and it was really fun. So I went to a school, Expression, in Emeryville. I don't know if they changed their name at this point. I think it would. Anyway, I went there. It was a pretty small startup school that was accelerated, so it was like a 2.5 year program. I was out, sat on my couch for about 6 months, and then I got a job. And I moved to LA, and I've been there for 13 years now, working at the same company.
So can you tell us a little bit about your formative experiences at Skywalker Ranch and how that shaped you as an artist?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, it's quite an evolution. I mean, no, actually, like, coming from... I was a broke student in school, living off ramen noodles, and when I started Skywalker Ranch, I almost took the job as cheap as you could possibly pay me, and I just wanted to be there. I didn't sleep. I think there were days where I stayed there for just 2 days in a row working. I didn't want to leave because I couldn't believe what I was actually working on. And we'd see George walk in the room, and I'm just like, pinch, is this normal? What's happening? Yeah. And then after 4 years, still, I know I was kind of like, this is still so awesome. The pixie dust never really sort of faded, and it very hard working there. And one thing I learned from that time, day and age, is you can't really do that for the rest of your life because then you'll burn out and you'll kill yourself. So it's kind of one thing I think with my company that I like to do, try to keep constraints on people's lives, livelihood. Everyone needs to get out and do a little something or other, but keep it fair.
And tell us a little bit about that company and sort of your modus operandi.
Halon?
Yeah.
Take it off.
Halon, it's been doing the same thing for a long time. It's been doing it successfully. I think mostly because it inspires a lot of people to be creative, and it gives them the space to do that, and it's just a lot of fun. And so through doing that, we're successful on these movies, and so I don't know.
I think one of our company sort of mantras is we have a very family style of thing going on with all of our artists. It's a small company. We're like you're my brother. It's like it's how it goes, and we're not a revolving door. Like you see some other companies that are like, come in and model for 2 weeks and we'll see you, and come animate, we'll see you. Like we like to keep our artists going, especially the people that have been around a lot. That's helped us make these awesome films. It's
I feel like
family,
we try to be inclusive, nurturing, and try to provide for the younger artists to continue to build their skills and learn and improve. And there's almost limitless potential for what you can actually do because there's always new challenges. Like every 3 to 7 months or whatever the span of a project ends, the next project comes and you have whole new challenges, completely new production people and supervisors that you're working with, and so there's always something new and fun around the door.
Yeah, we'll go from one.
You never kind of get that complacent feeling that you get at some bigger companies, or you never really get pigeonholed. It's always, and new technologies always around the door that we're constantly playing with. Like we're doing a lot of stuff with Unreal Engine now, so we're the game engine that we're using what has been evolving within the game world for decades to now render in real time and be interactive so that we can put virtual glasses on people and have them explore and figure out what cameras they want.
They can scout locations now with a VR mask on now,
Yeah.
And then, and that's another thing. It's like we'll go from doing a movie like Pacific Rim, which is like you got futuristic robots beating the crap out of each other, and then we'll go to the next movie, which takes place in 1890 with nothing that's technological. You just got candles and you got to make the lighting look good,
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Is keeping up with the technology something that's challenging to sort of adapt what you're working on all the time?
I think it has its ups and downs based on the technology. Sometimes we'll find pieces of technology that are, I guess the learning curve may be a little too much for, an entire team to handle. But sometimes you find that sweet spot. I think that's, us using Unreal Engine was kind of awesome because, we went from using Maya's sort of mediocre display viewport to using Unreal, and Unreal just gives you the opportunity to see lighting that's accurately, dialed down in lumen measurements, that gives the DP, he knows exactly where to put his light and what to set it to, and it's sort of, there's a little kink here and there, but it's
and back and
mostly
forth, and he can change things, and then he knows, but I think, no, it's exciting, that we get to use all these new tools and constantly, and since we're so small, it really allows us to do that, because we have a small group of generalists who are all technically proficient but also very creative. So we get to go through all of this stuff. One team gets to kind of beta test something, they start figuring stuff out, they tell the other teams, everyone starts getting on, all the ideas share, and it's kind of this whole this cloud of knowledge that builds.
It's a think tank.
Think tank. Yeah.
So Previs is one of those elements of filmmaking that sort of the general film goer doesn't necessarily know very much about.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is something about what you do that you would like general audiences to know or be more aware of?
That we should have a place in the Academy Awards for Best Previs. No. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of the thing.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think to the general audience that, something, I don't know, I guess it would be nice if we had more things to show on DVD extras, which is kind of cool. We are starting to see more of that, I'm hoping in the
It's
film.
true. I mean, most of what we do, no one ever sees.
Yeah.
Because it's a preliminary stage to getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the planning stage. And sometimes it does end up looking really good and telling a story, and you feel emotions from watching those, those cheap animations.
Right.
And I think as our practice has evolved over the years, I think we are getting a lot more sort of attention, be it in the VFX Society, and then even you'll start to see some Previs stuff now in the Oscars, and they'll show it, but you'll never hear anyone say, "Oh, thanks to the Previs guys for doing all those shots." So that'd be nice to hear on stage one day.
But I don't know. At the same time, you're just another part of the process.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fine as long as I get to be creative all day long and have fun. I'm pretty happy with it.
Content.
Pretty good with my spot.
Well, how much creativity and artistic license do you guys have? Can you tell us a little bit about working with the director?
It so changes. I mean, it's really project dependent, and even more than that, it's almost scene specific.
Yeah.
Because they're,
Working with Peter, it was great on Uprising because, he would give us the opportunity to pitch ideas. Like, we're doing an edit, and I'm like, what if we put a shot here of a close-up of, something getting blown up, and who doesn't want to see that in this movie? So, he was always for it until we get to the edit, and it's too shoe leather, then we have to start to cut stuff out. So, we also have projects where it's like we get zero input, and it's like, yeah, well, here's what you asked for, and just let us know what else you want.
Yeah. I think the really successful directors allow for a certain amount of creativity.
Absolutely.
But they also know what they want and can direct you. But they direct your creativity, not your, they don't micromanage exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Because then you get the stuff that's inspired from your artists. And the same thing with us. Yeah. As supervisors, we try to
do that with our artists.
Facilitate the creativity of all of the artists that we work with. Most of the best things that we do are from the artists we work with, just like turning their shot. Like, wow, that's amazing.
That looks good.
Yeah. And they're going to think that I did that, and that's great.
Then when we start to get slow, then that gives us the opportunity to start pushing it a little further. It's like, so the animation looks good that you did. Can you just make it look a little bit better since you got an extra 30 minutes? So it's like,